Apps. This is Tech Coach Adams. Today I am going to show you how to create a OneNote class notebook. So to start with, I'm at the DDSB mobile campus page, but you could be at the teacher mobile campus page. Doesn't really matter. What you want is to get into any of the Office 365 apps, which I find the fastest way to do it is through this page, to click on the OneDrive link at the top of the page there. You could go to your email, which is an Office 365 app called Outlook. It doesn't really matter. What you are interested in finding is the Microsoft Office 365 app launcher, or some people call it the waffle, which is a 3x3 grid of squares that is usually in the top left-hand corner when you are logged into an Office 365 app. Now, I've obviously logged in on this computer already, so it didn't ask me to log in again, but depending on what you've done already, you might be asked to log in, which you would just use your school account at ddsb.ca and log in like you would to log in for your email. Once you see the waffle here, or the app launcher in the top left-hand corner, you click it, and in order to create a class notebook, you would simply choose class notebook from the list of apps that appear. So here are my Office 365 apps, and I want this one called class notebook. This will take us to the class notebook creator page, where I will be given 4 options. The last 3 we will discuss after we're done, because all we want to do right now is create a class notebook, which is the first option. So click on that, and that will take me through the creator page. Here, the first thing that's going to be asking me in my series of prompts here is to give the notebook a name. I would suggest giving it a name that is specific to the class, as well as the year, so that if you teach the same thing year after year and you make new notebooks, it's easier to find ones that you've used from a particular year. So I'll call this one Math 1718. So it's my math notebook for the 17-18 school year, and I click next, and the next page here that comes up doesn't ask me to do anything. It just tells me what is going to be created in my class notebook. So there's different spaces that are automatically created when I make a class notebook. OneNote is a digital binder which divides content up into sections, which are like the dividers in a binder, and then within those sections there are pages. So there are 3 sections that are created when you make a class notebook. The first one is the collaboration space, and in here, this is where students and teachers can work together. Both teachers and students have edit access here, so they can both edit the content in there. Content library is another section that's created where teachers can publish course material for the students. Teachers can edit stuff in the content library, but students can only view it. And then each student will be given a private space, a personal space, a student notebook, where teachers can edit and students can edit, but they can only edit and even view their own personal space. They don't even see the other students' personal spaces. So you can just click next here. The next page, step 3 here, is optional. That's if you wanted to give other teachers permission to work within this notebook, you could just type their names there. But for me, I'll just move on. This is the part that is sort of the most time consuming. This is where you're going to add the names of your students to your class notebook. So you can do this by typing their names one by one. If you have a class list that includes their student numbers, you could put it in that way. If you are using a class list, the names need to be separated. If you're copying and pasting a class list, the names need to be separated by a semicolon between them in order to tell the computer when you're moving on to the next name. But for the most part, you would probably just be typing their student names in off of a class list. And in that case, it will immediately start searching as you start typing. So if I put the name of a student in, this is my son, Cooper Adams, as soon as I type Cooper, it starts looking for all the Coopers, and as I type his last name, it narrows down my search until there's only one. Now, if there were more than one student that showed up with the name Cooper Adams, I could, if I hover my mouse over his name, I can see his student number listed there underneath my mouse cursor. That gives me the ability to cross-reference his student number with my class list to make sure that I'm choosing the correct Cooper Adams if there was more than one. If I was choosing, like if I had a student named Mike Smith and 4 Mike Smiths showed up, I could look at the student number by hovering over their name and find which one is the right one. So I add my students by typing their names in. And once I've finished adding all of my students in, I just simply click Next. The next page is where you are going to get a chance to design and personalize what each student's private or personal space will look like. So as I said, each student will get a personal notebook within this class notebook where they have access to edit their work, and you have access to it, but no other students do. So this gives you the ability to create sections, predetermined sections that will be in each student's personal or private spaces. So if I like all 4 of these, I can just leave these checked. If I want to get rid of any, I can just uncheck them. And if I wanted to add more, I can just click Add More and then give it a name and then click Next. This next page will simply show you what will look like from both the teacher's and student's perspective. So this is what the notebook will look like from the teacher's perspective. I have access to the collaboration space, the content library, and all 3 of my students' personal spaces. If I click Student Notebook, it shows me what it looks like if I was Andrea. So Andrea has access to collaboration space and content library, and then her own personal space, but she doesn't even see the other students' personal spaces. And you can see that within her personal space, those 3 subsections that I said that I wanted in their personal spaces have been created as well. Once I click Create, it's done. The notebook has been created. Each student will have access to the collaboration space, the content library, and their personal space. Now, one thing that isn't automatically installed on your OneNote is the OneNote class notebook add-in. I would highly suggest that you install this. A lot of the power that comes from using OneNote is embedded into this add-in, and it gives you the ability to distribute sections and pages, to review student work, to manage your notebooks, all kinds of handy tools for the classroom. So I would go ahead and click and install this if you haven't already done so. But once you're done, you just simply need to click back to home. This will take you back to the OneNote Creator page where we started. Now, if at any time you need to add new students or remove students who have moved away, you can click this option here. If there's a teacher that you would like to add later on, you could add them by clicking here. But for today, I think we should click here. This is Manage Notebooks, because this is where you can manage some of the optional features of your notebook. And there's one in particular that I think is particularly handy that you should turn on. So when you click Manage Notebooks, it takes you to here where you will see all of the class notebooks that you have created. So it's alphabetically ordered, so you just need to scroll down till you find the one that you are looking for, which I called, here we go, Math 1718. So what I want to draw your attention to first of all is the Enable Teacher Only section group. This is defaulted to off, but my suggestion would be turn this on. What this does is it creates a private personal space for the teacher within the notebook. So it's a space that the students do not see at all. So you can put things in there like assessments, anecdotal, observational records. You can keep copies of documents. You can do your planning of future lessons and stuff in there, all where only you can see that this section even exists. It's invisible to everybody other than you. Other things you can do in the Manage Notebook section is, as I said, you can change the sections that are in the students' personal spaces by editing them here or adding new sections here. If you wanted to, you could give permissions for part of the collaboration space to only certain students, which is handy if you're working in small groups. You could take 4 students who are working on a research project together, make a section in the collaboration space, and then assign permission just to them so no other students can actually see, edit, or view what is in that part of the collaboration space. You can get parent or guardian links, which is a viewing link for parents to view the students' personal spaces. And you can also lock the entire collaboration space, which turns it into a read-only or only viewing rights in the collaboration space. So if you were going away for winter break or something and you wanted to make sure the students weren't posting unmoderated things in there, you could just check that and it will lock it, and you can unlock it when you get back. Okay. Once you're done that, if you click open in OneNote Online, it will take you to your notebook and show you what it looks like. And this opens it in OneNote Online. There is also OneNote, the desktop version, and there are some minor differences between the two, but if you're working with students with Chromebooks, they only have access to OneNote Online. So this is what they will see when they log in, structurally wise. They won't necessarily see all the sections that you do as the teacher. If you want to use the desktop version, once it opens in OneNote Online, you will have a button that will say open in OneNote, that will, once the page fully loads, will show up right in the top banner bar here. And you can click that, which will open it in the desktop version of OneNote. And then it'll be, here it is, open in OneNote. And then you can have access to that in your desktop version of OneNote as well as the online version. But you can see my OneNote notebook has been created here. I've got a collaboration space, a content library. The teacher only space that I asked it to create is there, which I only have access to. And then my 3 students have their personal spaces, and each personal space of each student has the sections that I designated: while absent, handouts, and class notes. And for the students' perspective, for them to log in, they simply need to log into Office 365, click on their waffle, and instead of going to class notebook, they would click on OneNote, and then they would have an option to open up. It asks them which one notebook they would like to open, and they simply need to choose class notebooks from the different types of notebooks, and then find the one that you created. So this page will open: recent, my notebooks shared with me in class notebooks. Because I just created this, it is my most recent, but the students will want to click on class notebooks here, which will take them to any class notebooks that they've been enrolled in, and they can open it that way. And once they're in, it'll look like yours, except they will only have access to their personal space, and they won't see the teacher only space, but they will have the collaboration space and the content library. So that's how you create a OneNote class notebook. Look for my future video on tips and tricks on how you can use this in the classroom with its features and benefits. Bye for now.